Welcome to At the Controls with your host, Glenn Rubenstein.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to At the Controls. This is indeed the Twit video game show. We're still in beta. This is release candidate show number 16, and you might notice some changes today. Tom Merritt and Brian Brushwood
Fired.
They're at Dragon Con, and they're too busy hanging out with all the cool friends to come here and be here with us. So we got Ayaz Akhtar, Tony Wang, and Alex Gumpel, our very own man at the Controls of At the Controls, is going to be sitting in a bit later to give us his full report from the Penny Arcade Expo in Seattle, Washington. Do we have a little preview of your report there?
Sure. I just wanted to give first just an intro to the horrible disaster we had the other night at the Penny Arcade Expo. I've got some footage of it while we still can show it legally, but it was a horrible mess out there. Total destruction. I don't know what happened.
Is that paper mache?
I don't know actually. I don't know if that's what the convention center is made out of, but it was a mess.
They're Space Marines.
No, it's cosplayers. Cosplayers. They
gotcha.
took the opportunity. They were on the scene to they acted in their.
This is pretty extensive. I'm surprised this wasn't on the news.
I don't. Oh yeah, we had.
Hurricane Irene distracted from all
that's
the
stuff.
and
Right on top of that, that's
because if something happens in New York, it's more important.
That is a horrible situation there.
Back to you guys.
Yes.
Our thoughts and prayers are with the paper mache man.
Yes, but first, let's start with the news. Ayaz, what do we have going on this week?
We've got Team Bondi, the team behind LA Noire, has been placed into administration. That's like bankruptcy, but in that country, they call it administration. This has been a result of allegations of unsatisfactory working conditions. Rumor has it that Rockstar is unlikely to publish the developer's next game. The appointment followed rumors of assets and non-LA Noire intellectual property to filmmaker George Miller's studio KMM.
New Red Dead Redemption DLC launches September 13th. Red Dead Redemption isn't dead yet. There is more DLC coming in less than 2 weeks. And best of all, it's free. The Myth, and Mavericks bonus pack will hit PSN and Xbox Live Marketplace on September 13th, and we can expect 14 new maps and modes plus 8 new characters. But what I want to know, Rockstar, is when are we going to see a PC version?
No idea. If you ever wondered why DLC has been so popular amongst game makers, Activision revealed this week that it has sold a total of 18 million map packs for Call of Duty Black Ops at the price of $15 each pack. So far, there's been 2 packs. Activision has made a total of $270 million just on the maps alone. That pushes up the average amount spent per player to $76.
Damn.
Wow.
You can't shoot civilians in Battlefield 3. It's common knowledge that the Battlefield franchise is more realistic than its counterparts, but executive producer Patrick Bach is concerned about giving players 100% freedom to do anything they like, a la Grand Theft Auto. Bach is afraid that players will always choose the dark side when they're given a choice between good versus evil, and in light of what happened in Modern Warfare 2's No Russian level, Bach told Rock Paper Shotgun that he's trying to stay away from having civilians in Battlefield because he thinks people will do bad. He also added that, I don't want to see videos on the internet where people shoot civilians. That's something I will sanitize by removing that feature from the game.
That's not very realistic at all, then, is it? Sony announced at the IFA Electronics show that since PSN's restoration, they have gained 3 million new PSN users. Wow, they have a short-term memory. According to Sony's CEO Howard Stringer, PSN is more secure and better than ever. Sales are exceeding what they had before the cyber attacks. We wonder how much of the burst in growth has to do with the price drop of the PS3. Kotaku Australia reported that sales of the PS3 have increased by 400% since the price dropped.
It's too bad Schwood's not here for this story, but I'm sure Adam 12 in the chat room will be interested in this. Rebels versus the Empire. Who will win the Star Wars Galaxies in-game end event? Sony Online Entertainment has promised that a Galaxy-ending in-game event will take place before Star Wars Galaxies goes offline in December to make room for the Old Republic. Before December 15th, one side of the galactic civil war must be totaled on each server, meaning that the war will finally be won. Keep an eye out for celebrations for the winners, but they'll all be going out with a bang. For more details on this galactic event, visit starwarsgalaxies.station.sony.com to make sure you qualify for the end of the world.
I'm sure somewhere in Atlanta, Schwood is just... He can feel the news. He knows the news right now. Deus Ex, the website for the game, the RSS code actually reveals the upcoming Missing Link DLC. The RSS RSS XML reveals that the title will indeed be called Missing Link, and it will take place during a 3-day period in which the protagonist vanishes, after which he must escape from a freighter without his augmentations. So if you guys want to find out about games, check out RSS feeds.
It's a thing worth delving into.
That's right. Find some secrets in there. Secrets.
Let's move on to our control issues, where we talk about events happening in gaming or things that we want to shine a spotlight on. And this week, joining us back from the Penny Arcade Expo in Seattle, we have our very own Alex Gumpel, who shot some footage and is going to swap out quickly with Liz Romero over there, who's going to take over the board op duties for a couple minutes while Alex tells us about his adventure in Seattle. Ayaz, have you ever been to Penny Arcade Expo?
I have not been to an expo
Nor
in a
have
long
I.
time. I mean, it's a lot. All I know is that you probably need really good sneakers. Make sure you bring your own water because usually it costs an extra, 30%. I haven't been to one of these things in a while. Have you been to anything?
Well, E3 is, but I haven't gone to a lot of the more user-heavy conferences, not in a while, and I think it's just because I became very burnt out on professional conventions when I had to go and cover them. See, back before I got into this business, which we'll talk about when I got into this business a little later on in the show, but back before I used to go to WonderCon, I used to go to a lot more events just for fun, but then I think when I had to start working them and covering them, it just
they
became
become a lot less fun.
It's not something you want to do on your off time, which is why props to Brian Brushwood and Tom Merritt for wanting to go to Dragon Con this week, because they're not even streaming it.
Well, I'm
I
pretty
don't
sure
think.
that they won't be streaming it unless a fan goes ahead and decides to just take their phone and start live streaming, which I think Schwood might do. He might just randomly go.
He lives on the internet.
That's what he does. And the other thing is he's right at home with his hair in the cosplay kind of universe. There might be like, hey, are you a character in a game? He's like, no, I'm a magician. That's just got to explain that. And Alex, we've scared away. That's right.
He's running.
Get out of here.
Schwood sleeps with his hair like that.
I would assume so. He's got a very special molded pillow just for his hair. Hello. It is good to see you. Thanks for dropping in.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, Alex, how was Penny Arcade Expo?
So it was fun. And I went there, I think I said in 2008, and it looks like it's gotten bigger, and every year it's always sells out a lot quicker. But I mean, I do have to kind of apologize for my reporting last week, in that I didn't really do much reporting because
The connection left a little bit to be desired.
that plus also, I mean, honestly. I was more going there for the social aspect of it, not so much the PAX itself.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like the excuse that all of our friends kind of met up in the area, and so it was more of like that day. Had so much going on, and I had 2 friends with me, and that's like kind of was like.
These sound like
in and out of-
excuses.
There are
They're absolute excuses.
for my.
You just went and drank, and you didn't cover any of it, did you? You got nothing.
Well, okay. To be fair, Twit wasn't paying me to go.
That's
so.
true. That's true. You were doing this out of the kindness of your heart.
Yes, the kindness of.
There's not a whole
my-
lot of it.
and my wallet.
Yes.
But I mean, I saw some cool things. I got some B-roll stuff. Liz.
Liz is at the controls
Okay,
right now.
there we go. Okay, here's some.
It's like we're there.
It's like walking through the whole convention hall there. You could see the crowds of people there. Just a horrible mess of just people in the way of everything.
This looks just like E3. This looks identical to some of our
I
shots at
recognize that guy
E3.
with that hat from E3.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just funny because I'm looking at the setup here, and I think that's part of the reason why it seems strange to me that there's so many of these conferences now, and all the game companies have gotten involved
Right,
with
and
exhibiting there.
it seems more like E3 is the marketing thing. It's for the professional, selling stuff. And PAX is now that people are just doing it to show stuff off to the fans directly.
How bad were the lines waiting to play?
They were pretty bad. I didn't actually wait in line
Because at
it was-
E3 you could play, but you had to wait in
there were
line
a lot
forever.
of that, but it's half hour to an hour or even more. I think for some of the bigger things during peak hours. My feeling is I don't really want to wait an hour in line to play like 5 minutes or something while under pressure of people behind you in line when the game's going to come out in a couple months anyway.
Well, and that's how I felt at E3. I mean, I waited for Arkham City for I think like an hour, and I was like, you know what? In 6 months, I can just play the game.
Yeah, and I have good patience, so I can just wait.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So
see.
I
You're
didn't-
one of those guys.
So I don't have any hands-on.
Could have waited online, had some interesting exclusive stuff for us, and
Yeah, but I
They
had
didn't
you
want you to take the
I
camera
had
in
my
there.
friends with me. You know, we were doing stuff and
doing
drinking
stuff,
later.
and drinking over video games. No, that's not the way we do it here.
Well, we're going to keep pounding this desk and make that horrible
That's
noise
right.
with these mics.
I'll ruin this show.
Okay,
Just yet.
so
There
we got
we
some
go.
rage there.
Rage.
Rage.
Yeah,
Which-
did all my 4 rages come out last week when I was told to
I
repeat
believe
the name
so.
4 times?
You know, Rage made a cameo in last week's Breaking Bad, or in this week's
I
Breaking Bad.
saw that.
was
Spoilers,
crazy.
spoilers,
He was
spoilers.
playing-
I'm
They
behind.
were playing it with a gun.
I'm behind.
Which was just that I don't think that exists.
Bryan Cranston dies.
Yeah. No, it was the opening
Wait,
scene.
the actor.
No, Jesse's just
It's
playing.
even worse
Jesse's
than
just
Walter
playing Rage. I mean, you just see him footage of him playing Rage, but he's playing it with like a gun with a zapper,
I don't.
which does not actually. I don't believe that's
Clearly,
possible.
that's to avoid infringement.
So what else do we got, Liz?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, there we go. There's
Minecraft.
No, that's the TechCrunch logo. I'm pretty sure.
Oh no, it's a creeper. And yeah, there's the big nice Jurassic Park display there.
Did you get to play that at all?
No, I didn't play anything.
That's what I'm really curious about Jurassic Park, because I think that fans of Jurassic Park are going to be expecting more of an action game, whereas with Telltale and the adventure games, like I really like Back to the Future, but I think it'll seem ridiculous if you're sitting there waiting to make a decision while a dino is just kind of.
So
You know.
Yeah,
if it's not an action game, what kind of game is Jurassic Park?
It's an adventure game, but in the Telltale style of the old Scum, engine based.
I see.
It looked cool, though.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good. It looks good.
cool.
You know, and I'm one of the few people that actually thought, I mean, Jurassic Park Trespasser certainly had its issues back in the day, but that game scared the hell out of me.
So what are we seeing right now?
So this
Alex?
is the line to the Battlefield playthrough, I think. You can see
that
it
little
there,
game.
and that actually wrapped all the way around the entire booth.
78
7
times.
Yeah, and they got a thing there. You know what you call it? Hummer. Thanks, Tony.
Hello, Tony.
Tony the car man. Yes, you can tell me it's a Hummer. Wow, good going, Liz. That looked awesome. Some
Did
more
you?
of the Hummer.
No, you didn't play any games. Did you drive the Hummer?
I was very tempted to just get in and see what happened.
Just bash into. Forget the lines. Just run over
go
people.
through the lines. Yeah,
exactly.
We'll cut through the lines so I can play.
Well, yeah, the murder charges might be a problem later,
Yeah,
but you get to play the game first. Battlefield 3. We've been covering that.
Or
on
I
Tech News
can
today.
just wait a couple months.
Wait. Great still shot of that person's rear end. Thanks, Liz, for that.
What else we got? But how about some Skyrim? We got Skyrim footage.
Oh yeah, let's take a look at that.
That's not Skyrim, but that is something
Star Wars:
else.
The Old Republic.
Old Republic, again, somewhere Brian Brushwood.
Somewhere Brian, other Adam 12, and we should give a plug for Brian and Adam 12. If you want more information about the Old Republic, they're doing the Cantina Band podcast.
Okay.
Which I'm not sure if you guys have listened to that yet. I listened to the first episode. I was very impressed with just their back and forth, a very good rapport. And it's interesting, I mean, just having a podcast dedicated to the Old Republic, which hasn't even launched yet. But you can check that out at thecantinaband.com.
They have the exclusive right now, so
Yeah.
I'm sure that a bunch will.
They're locking that down.
So there's some Skyrim footage. So I kind of was trying. This is after the 2-hour-long line to play it. There's a lucky guy who was playing it. I was filming him, and I kind of got some footage of the screen. But then a guy came up and said, "No, I can't film that." So
there you go.
we're not
There's
actually-
our.
Do we have footage of the hand over the lens?
We have
pushing you
footage. I
down?
think of the. There we go.
There it is. Don't.
That's our unauthorized Skyrim exclusive, ladies and
Which I
gentlemen.
don't understand. I mean, they have it on
I
display.
never
It's
get that.
But I mean, the Duke Nukem thing that made sense because it was in closed doors. This was just right there.
The Duke Nukem thing was ridiculous because at E3,
Well,
for those of you that didn't see, they let us film Duke Nukem Forever, which, by the way, was a week away from shipping. They let us film it, but said we couldn't comment on it while we were filming it. So we had to stand there silently.
But to get in with the cameras, you had to make a special. I don't know. Didn't they?
We talked
had to
to
talk to them. They
what's his face,
wouldn't
Jim
let you in.
Redner, the firebrand of controversy for the publicist and what happened post Duke Nukem Forever's release. But he let us in, but said we couldn't comment. So I mean, it was very.
So we had
Clearly,
Leo commenting outside.
yeah, exactly.
If we saw that video, you wouldn't want to go play the game. Obviously, that it would take
Obviously
away
not,
every
no. I mean,
need to
that's
play the
just-
game.
Why did you actually turn off the camera though when the guy tried to get you to stop? Why didn't you pull like a Michael Moore and be like, oh no, it's the red light means it's off.
He was bigger than me.
Fear is what security uses to
It's that
deflect.
same Xbox 360 display that's everywhere.
Yep. I'm not sure what's in this clip. I think this is just kind of. Oh, Dance Central 2, Liz says, is what the title is. Assuming Tony, is this right?
In the end of the clip, yes.
This
the
all
end of the
looks
clip.
so much like E3.
Yeah, it's very.
It's all the same.
I
There
mean,
it is.
I'm
Oh,
to be
turn
honest.
the level up, volume up.
Yeah, let's see the volume. Now, did you get up there and dance all out?
I almost did.
Almost.
If I had been drinking earlier in the day,
When that comes out, we'll bring a Connect in here, and it'll be on. We'll have Alex demo the game for us.
Just on the drop cam. Only on the drop cam. So you can.
Yes.
You
those-
can-
During the
those late
LAN
nights I'm
parties,
working
when we
here.
launch the LAN parties.
Yes.
Yeah. It'll be awesome.
I don't know. I think that's like I
more
said. I mean,
clips?
I feel bad because I kind of you guys were hoping I would report and actually look at stuff, but I didn't get much of a chance.
Yeah,
to do
I
that.
wanted you turning towards the camera and being like, I'm
Why
here
didn't
on the
you-
scene at
why
Penny
didn't you
Arcade
have
Expo.
a cameraman and a staff and a producer and
because we're doing Dragon Con this weekend.
aha, that's
And I
why.
think it was one or the other in Dragon Con 1. Maybe next year if we can.
Next year-
if the show is successful and we build an empire and Twit, a sub empire, we can convince them
Sub-empire.
to.
A sub-empire of the Twit Empire.
Exactly.
That's what we're going for. We aim high.
And I also would like to personally apologize to Liz Romero at the board. I made some snarky comments before I left last time. That was just meant to be a joke, but I feel bad about it, and I'm sorry, Liz.
She did an okay job.
She did.
She did a solid job.
That's why it was just a joke.
What
Hi,
do you-
Liz.
What do you think back of Liz's head?
Oh, I had actually no idea you were making those comments, so I'm going to find them. Yes. I'm going to
She would
find
know
them, and I'm somehow going to tattoo them on you in the middle of the night.
And
Yeah.
she'll do it. She's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know.
I like my nose.
Don't play Street Fighter
Why do you
against
think
that
I'm
girl.
apologizing?
Chuck
She's
Norris
surprisingly
fears Liz
good.
Romero, so I would not mess with her.
Well, thank you, Alex. We appreciate that report from the Penny Arcade Expo.
The report, we'll call it that. Sure.
It was a report. It might not have been exactly on point, but it was a report.
It's a report of something.
It's you know what we had before? We had no video, but now we have video. So there we go.
There you
There
go.
you go.
There's a positive.
All right, I'm going back to the controls. Liz, you want to take my seat?
I'll just put my feet up.
Liz has a Giants game to get to.
A
Yes.
San Francisco Giants, not a New York Football Giants.
Just to be clear.
For those of you who are still displaced like I am.
Let's move on to what we're playing. Alex, hit the music.
Wow, he just got over there.
What we're playing. The segment where we talk about.
What we're playing?
Way to steal my thunder, IS.
Sorry, I needed
No.
the thunder. I needed it.
This week, okay, finally checked out Deus Ex Human Revolution, which,
That little game,
yeah, not to be confused with Dance Dance Revolution, as
some people have
some people have.
in the past. Okay.
Oh, that was a fun conversation.
So, but Deus Ex though.
Deus Ex Human Revolution, I don't want to talk about too much because I want to have a conversation with Schwood once he's on next week because he's more of a fan of the franchise. I really like the first game. The second game, I know a lot of people were kind of disappointed by, and I really didn't play it because I'd heard so many mixed things about it. With Deus Ex Human Revolution, which is actually a prequel to the original Deus Ex, I'm probably only like an hour to an hour and a half into the game. And I have to, just full disclosure, I've been having some Xbox freezing issues on my 360. So I actually had to start over once when it didn't save. It was this whole thing. So I'm going to play it more over the coming days before some of the stuff, the influx of games comes out next week. And yeah, Iceberger's right. I should have just played it on a PC. But so far, I'm finding it kind of slow to get started with. But all of the excellent reviews for the game are making me dedicate myself to playing past kind of the slow opening.
So,
you know?
so what's slow about it? Is it a lot of cutscenes or something strange?
There's a lot of cutscenes.
What's
There's a lot of
making
stuff.
you difficult
Well, you
to
can't
get into?
skip. I mean, you could skip some of the cutscenes, but there's a lot of that stuff where you're being like in the first level, you're being walked through an area and you can look around, but you can't do anything. And there's a lot of that. Just go up. I mean, it really walks you through the base mechanics at
So
the
it's
start
kind
of
of
the game.
on rails in the beginning, and you're stuck.
Yeah,
for
a little
while.
bit, just in the beginning. But I mean, everything I've read about it is fantastic. So I'm gonna keep playing it, and it's not a knock on the game. And in fact, later in the show, we're gonna have a listener review that somebody sent in of Deus Ex Human Revolution, and their review. I mean, they love it. So I'm looking forward to loving it more as I get deeper into it. But what I was having, and I talked about this on Twitter last night, it kind of created a bit of an existential crisis for me about what type of nerd I am, because I was realizing that I like storylines. Some things in the sci-fi variety, but there's also stuff I don't like in sci-fi, and I was kind of like having that conversation. I'm sure you guys have had it before where you realize, I mean, I don't know, do you like fantasy as much as you like sci-fi?
Fantasy, as in like wizards and warlocks kind of things.
Yeah,
No.
dragons. Yeah, see, I'm not into
That's-
fantasy
yeah.
really either.
I like science fiction. I like like Star Trek style stuff.
See, I used to like all
Not
science fiction.
necessarily wizards.
You know what I like? I like stuff about time travel.
Time travel's fun.
Time travel-
except when there's Morlocks.
Yeah, except when there's more. That's, I'm glad you brought that up because I saw, what was it, Time After Time as a kid? Was that the one?
There's so many of them.
With Malcolm McDowell?
Was it? Audience member? No idea. Windows Phone 7 doesn't help us at all. Thanks.
Yeah, but no, I found that one kind of boring too. The one based on the time machine.
Yeah.
But no, I like time travel. I like the Terminator series.
Actually, I'm kind of curious about this. I mean, if you did not read reviews about the game and knowing it's going to get better, would you want to continue playing it? Like, if you were just playing this game in a vacuum, you're saying it's kind of slow to start. Without reading everything else that you know about this game, would you continue playing it or go, this is just too slow? If the rest of the game is paced like this, forget it.
It just didn't grab me at the very beginning. And I understand the setup and what it's doing, but I just thought it was a little slow in getting going. And I like a story that just instantly... I mean, Portal 2 is a great example of a story that just grabs you right from the beginning. And it works you through the tutorial, but... Portal 2 has a little bit of slowdown in some of those early levels, like right before you get the portal gun, but the fact that they have Stephen Merchant in there doing the color commentary the whole time, like I found that kept me entertained and interested. You know, or maybe it's just that I'm coming off of playing a lot more fast-paced games, that it's just the contrast of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some great firefights early on in Deus Ex Human Revolution, but it just takes a while to get going. But you know what? I mean, that's it, with full disclosure, I felt the same way about Half-Life too. The original Half-Life, I was like, this is kind of a slow game to start with. I mean, it gets interesting, but it does start off kind of slow.
That's one of the reasons I like old games. They just get you like you start going right away. There's no there's an old video, you've probably seen it, where if Super Mario came out now, the tutorial video would be about 20 minutes. This is how you jump. This is how you hit a brick. This is how you get a coin. It's like, sometimes you just want to play a game. So I'm not knocking Deus Ex Human Revolution. Again, I've seen the reviews. I've seen clips from it. I'm going to play it through. But full disclosure, just before anyone completely flames me, and they will.
Daniel the Man saying that just lost all respect for the Half-Life comment. Half-Life starts kind of slow.
Oh, fear not.
That's all I'm saying. I didn't say it was bad. I just said it's slow. It started off kind of slow. I still played it. I still loved it. Just started off kind of slow. That's all I'm saying. There are some movies that are that way. I love the movie The Abyss. The movie The Abyss starts off very slow.
Oh, I wouldn't even worry about those comments. I mean, you can have your own opinion. If it starts off slow, the thing is, if you enjoy the game at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Yeah. So that's part of it's a pacing thing, but for me, it was one of those things where I was just kind of, nerd-wise, I feel like I should be more into sci-fi than I am.
Yeah, I'm also in that thing. Like, I don't know why I don't quite get wizards and warlocks, that kind of stuff, and like hobbits.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I always think Party Down, the great Star show, had a great dissection when the characters Roman talks about he's into hard sci-fi, and this girl is totally picking up on him and saying like, you're into hard sci-fi, awesome, I love that, like dragons and stuff, and then he totally like rejects her, going, dragons are fantasy, I'm into hard sci-fi.
So you're playing actually a whole bunch of games, actually.
Yeah, well,
Madden.
and Madden 2012 still playing, which really enjoying it, really much more action-oriented compared to more of the simulation of what I liked about NCAA 2012, NCAA football 2012 on the PS3. So yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying Madden. There's really not much more to say about it. I mean, if you like football, they did a good job.
Are there any improvements between 2011 and 2012? I mean, the thing is, every year, the only thing that seems to change is the rosters. I mean, it's really not a whole lot.
It looks better. It looks better. Some of the play controls, they've streamlined some of the play controls. There's some deeper features that I haven't really gotten into yet with the game. I got to say, the player models, I think, look really good, except their eyes, I think, look kind of freaky.
The undead eye thing.
It's really weird, though, in that one, especially because NCAA, the player models look really good. The NCAA, I actually think, has better player models than Madden does. And I'd like to thank our very own Tony Wang for being the body model for our screen. So yeah, there's really not much we can say about it. I mean, if you like football, check it out. But the one I'm really looking forward to, and I mentioned this last week, NHL 2012. The demo is fantastic.
I love playing NHL in general, and I like to play it online. That always has slowdown, though. You've noticed, like,
a little bit of that. But we'll see how it is with Madden. I've definitely noticed it. But some of it, that's the thing.
These are the
Do
games.
you ever wonder when it's your system versus network lag? Because I'm convinced, because I have a first-generation PS3, I'm always convinced the lag is my system.
I doubt that. I mean, the thing is, if you play a two-player game right there, co-op, and see how it goes, if you have somebody else there, or try it online. Because I know that every time I would play NHL, with two players in the actual room, it was great. Online, it was just...
No, I still get some of that slowdown playing with two players.
And it's just so... Oh, really? That could be your system. Maybe it's the Sony PlayStation Network telling you, hey, you know what? You maybe want a thinner one. One of these nice new ones. They're not as shiny.
But so I'm definitely looking forward to NHL. Other thing I played surprisingly a bit of in the last day, the free 3DS games that came out, part of the Nintendo Ambassador program. They're a real pain in the ass to download. Don't get me wrong, because you have to go to your system settings. It basically treats it like
free stuff. You have,
but
to
it treats it
work
like
for
you've already bought it. So you have to go to your purchase list and then re-download your free 3DS games. Amongst them would have been playing. So I played NES Open Golf, which was interesting. I was actually excited about them bringing. I thought it was going to be the original NES Golf, but I'm convinced they use NES Open Golf because NES Open Golf actually isn't as good, in my opinion, as the most simple, basic golf game that first came out for the Nintendo, like in 87, 88. The NES Open Golf isn't quite as, it's a little more complicated. And I think the reason they released it as one of the free ones is because they didn't want to cut into the sales of whatever other golf games come out for the 3DS.
from the video, it looks absolutely thrilling.
The controls are a little too complex. It uses a tri-click, but the tri-click is kind of a pain. I'm just saying that if it had been the original NES Golf, I would have been stoked. So I didn't play that as much as I thought I would. Of course, I played Super Mario Brothers because I think I've played that.
You can play that forever.
I always go back to that when given the chance. And then surprisingly, Metroid. And I loaded up Metroid originally with a bit of a bias thinking that Metroid's not going to work well on a handheld system. Metroid is awesome on the 3DS. It's just the basic NES version.
It's not Metroid.
What's that?
That's not Metroid.
That's not Metroid.
Yeah.
Nor is that Super Mario Brothers. But that's fine.
That's a Mario.
It is a Mario. Metroid works surprisingly well. And you know what the game kind of reminded me of a little bit? In a strange way? Shades of Portal.
Now, what about Metroid did you think wouldn't work on a small screen?
I thought that I wasn't going to have the attention span to actually sit there and play through because Metroid is a complex exploration game.
Yeah.
There's a lot of exploration. There's a lot of maneuvering. Now, here's the thing that sucks, though, about the way that they do Virtual Console. There's no additional fancy save state feature.
Okay.
You still have to use the password system in Metroid, not like when you're playing on an emulator and you could just save your ROM state. Well,
you don't like to try to find a pen and paper to write down the 16.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. And as Iceberg points out in the chat realm, if you enter Justin Bailey as your password, you can start with Samus already, with all her weapons, already all her features. You could start in like the second quest of the game.
That's
a pro tip
and that's a
from
free game.
1988.
The old days.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go dig up my old Nintendo Powers to see what else I have in there.
But it's free, and like I said, I didn't think it was going to work that well on a portable system, but I had to stop myself playing it because I was going to play through the entire thing. No, Joshua Kilp's pointing out there is a save state, but what I'm saying is that you can't do the save state, like you can't save at any point in the game like you could on an emulator. Yeah, it's not an emulator. You have the option of using the password save, or if you die, you start over at a checkpoint. But what I'm saying is on emulator, you can shut down the emulator, save the state of the ROM exactly, and come back to it. And someone, Web4654, pointed out, spoiler alert, yeah, Samus is a girl. Sorry to ruin everyone who's never played Metroid.
Do you remember that when that broke? It was just like, whoa.
Blew my mind
it was
as
like
a child.
Like you tell your friends that because there was no internet then.
Yeah.
Totally different
She
thing.
was one of the first.
Oh, wait, Josh was saying there's a save state when you quit. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think there is.
There?
Yeah, because I remember
Does
I
it
was playing
save it
Super
exactly?
Mario.
Okay, but it doesn't let you do it at any point. You have to quit the game to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like you can in an emulator. We can just do it anytime. What I like to do, and this is just me being totally dorky about it, I like to save my state, and then if I die, I like to reload from right before I died.
Yeah.
That's my thing. That's my little move.
That would be a good thing just in general.
That's how I've gotten a lot of perfect games on a lot of old titles by saving, and then when I die, going back. So yeah, as Josh was pointing out, it's not as advanced as the emulator, so you can't save when you exit, or I didn't even see an option to save. I guess it just picks it back up when you go back in. I had to stop myself from playing it because, like I said, I was going around getting way too many power-ups and realizing I'm not going to play Metroid all in its entirety again. I've already spent probably 100 hours of my life in that game.
Well, there's no reason to not play it.
You got to move on and let go sometimes, man.
Yeah, or we can actually talk about what I'm playing, which is unusual because I don't play games that often.
Yeah, what have you been playing, IS?
Well, the thing is, over at Twit where we work, they gave us a MAME machine.
Yes.
Where you can save states all you want.
Joseph Huckabee donated the Twit Arcade MAME machine here.
You can see the logo. It's like right over. Let's see if I point to it. Right there. You can see it that way.
Which we got to find a way to incorporate it into the set here.
The
People
thing
have been
is,
suggesting it.
Now, I used to play Turtles in Time when I was a kid, and I wanted to play that again. There we go. You can see it. I was playing Turtles in Time today, and the first time I saw this thing, I started playing Turtles in Time because I just love playing it over and over again. It's a simple game. Yes, you can do button mashing all you want, but the thing is, I've spent I don't know how many quarters on that thing. But to be able to go to that machine and play it on an actual cabinet, because I've had emulators before, I've done it with my own machines, but this is freaking fun. I love this, and of course, I'm still addicted to Street Fighter 4. I will keep playing Street Fighter 4.
No, it's a great game.
All the time. I have it on my iPod Touch. I have it on my Xbox. I keep playing it because you basically want to beat the game with every character at some point. That's what I'm doing right now, so I like doing that. So these are the two games I will play ad infinitum.
Cool. Tony, what have you been playing?
Well, just like you, I downloaded my free games from the e-store, and I've been playing Balloon Fight and Metroid.
Big Balloon Fight fan?
Huge Balloon Fight fan. Just all I ever played when I was growing up was Balloon Fight, Tetris, and Joust.
Awesome.
Joust.
Oh,
like Atari Joust.
How far are you into Metroid?
I just started.
Ah, gotcha.
Because I was playing Balloon Fight the whole time.
Once I got the bombs for rolling up with the ball, the bomb attack,
yeah.
that's when I was like, I have to stop playing this.
That's pretty far in.
Yeah, because I was like, if I keep going.
Yeah. What I noticed was very interesting was that there was a lot of back and forth in Metroid where you have to go back.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know, it's just because I'm older now, but I don't like doing that with the newer Zelda games.
Uh-huh.
But I'm okay with it in Metroid. I don't know what it is.
It's the exploration factor. You know,
But, I mean, you're
I
doing
enjoy
that.
though. I enjoy the layout. You know what I used to love about that game was the up-down trick where you get yourself stuck in a door and you can explore like crazy hidden areas.
You can do that?
You never did that?
No.
If you get stuck in a door and then you're like stuck in there and you go up and down on the controller, you do this thing where you go into a ball and you stand up, you go into a ball and you stand up, and you could do that to work all the way up to all these crazy hidden areas in the game. I did that as a kid. I spent entire nights staying up, not sleeping, exploring, just hidden random. I mean, there's some weird glitchy areas you can find, but there's other ways you can get shortcuts to different areas that you couldn't access as easily. It's actually kind of cool.
I'm going to go back and do that.
You should. And enter the code Justin Bailey to start off with all your power-ups.
I was never a big fan of those codes.
Really?
You didn't have like a Game Genie or any other cheat thing?
No.
Oh, jeez.
That's cheating.
That is cheating. That's why it's
I
fun.
testified in the Game Genie trial.
Did you?
Yeah, I was an expert witness for Glue.
We'll talk about that in your anniversary.
Moving on, let's talk about games coming out this week. Tuesday, it's happening. It's finally here. All the viral video hype, everything that people have been talking about for months. Actually, strangely, people haven't been talking about it as much for the last month or so. It seems like some of the hype's died down. But Dead Island is finally coming out.
Died down. See what you did there.
Oh, yeah, I see. Worked it all
That's
around.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Right
Dead Island finally coming out for PS3 and Xbox 360. It's zombies on an island. It's Dead Island, and we'll be talking about it more next week. I'm looking forward to finally playing it, seeing if it lives up to all the hype. Also coming out, Driver San Francisco, which we've talked about. I played the demos. It's kind of like San Francisco, but they've taken a couple liberties. It's not as accurate as I'd like it to be, but the game looks like it has a lot of cool side missions.
That looks pretty real to me.
That's only one street.
Actually, what is that? Not the game.
These graphics are amazing.
Yeah,
no, wait a second.
But for a second, I was like...
This is a cluster of PS3s powering an unbelievable realistic recreation
you get a
of...
GPS in the car, too. That's awesome.
And I believe it comes out Tuesday. Oh. So you can check that out. Again, we'll be talking about that next week. Also, Star Fox 64 on the 3DS is coming out. Nintendo 3DS special release in flaming red.
Yay.
What color 3DS do you have, Tony?
I have the black one.
Yeah, same here.
But I got the original Mario Kart bundle. So the original 3D. No, not the 3D. The original DS.
That was red, wasn't it?
Red. Yeah. That was awesome.
Nice. And yes, the other guy in chat room says, we're all waiting for Diablo 3, man. I think that's, metaphorically and literally, we're all waiting for Diablo 3.
I'm a little worried about Dead Island.
Really?
Why is that?
I think my expectations are so high that I don't want to play it.
Do you think it's going to be the Walking Dead of video games?
I hope so, but
I remember seeing the trailer for this back when we were in the cottage a long time ago. And
so
Schwood was
long ago,
psyched.
like during beta episode 3.
Yeah,
so
a long time ago. And Schwood was like freaking out. It's amazing. And now I'm like, it's still not out? How is it still not out? It should
These
be out.
things take time, man.
No, it should be out now.
So all that and more coming out next week. Next week's going to be a pretty loaded show. Tom Merritt and Brian Brushwood will be back here in studio. We might even have guests. It'll be nuts. But we're going to be talking about Dead Island. Going to be talking about Drivers San Francisco. Going to be talking about Star Fox 64. Resistance 3 is coming out on the PS3. Big week for games. We're in the fall now. It's all happening. Technically, we're still in the summer, but it feels like we're in the fall because that's how many games are coming out. The rush and avalanche is upon us. Let's move on to retro. Do we have some fanfare or music here? Do the wipe.
This feels retro.
Yes.
All the way to back when the Matrix came out.
Ooh. It's the Gleniversary. I realized in prepping for today's show that as of this coming week, I've been covering video games for 21 years.
So it appears that you wrote a non-blog post on paper.
This was for a newspaper. The Argus Courier in Petaluma, California, was the first publication I wrote for. Now, a little bit of backstory. I don't want to burst anyone's bubble of the image they have of what an incredibly cool, suave guy I am, but I was kind of a dork in high school. I know.
That is unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And when I was 14, I was really into games. I had told a bit of the story before on the show. I sold a bunch of my NES games used through classified ads in the paper to fund my purchase of a Sega Genesis. And what happened was people were calling me still that bought games, asking for advice about how to beat games, asking me for advice about what games they should buy. Parents were calling me. And my mother, who was very keen observer of all this, said to me, yeah, this is really not.
Another way.
There we go.
There we go.
Let's do a side by side.
Wait, no, it's
Whoa.
Weird. No, there we go. My mom suggested that I write a letter to the local paper in Petaluma and pitch them on writing a column about video games, which I did. And surprisingly enough, they called me a couple days after they received my letter, which was typed on a typewriter.
a typewriter.
This was
like
1990.
with a ribbon,
Yes.
not the Office UI ribbon. But
And they called me and said, yeah, let's do a column about video games. So my first column, the announcement ran September 5th, 1990, which I like in the announcement, columnist to write about video games. And it says that, a subscriber to the top 5 video and computer magazines, Rubenstein discusses trends with writers and editors, attends conventions, and includes as sources the gaming counselors from large software and hardware companies. That basically means I was called the Nintendo tip line and harassed them until they gave me information about
still more
upcoming
information
games.
than they had.
Yes. But I thought I would read a little bit of my very first column, which ran in the Argus Courier, so we could look, sort of with hindsight at all the dorky stuff I wrote when I was 14 years old. Now I'm 35 for those doing the math. So the headline, Video Games Highly Popular. Who would have thought? This is my first column, and I'd like to begin with an explanation of why I think video systems, computers, and games are so popular. They are, in fact, more popular than ever before. Close to 50 million people in this country have gaming systems, and even more have personal computers. Why do people like them so much? I think I could put it into perspective. I like to compare playing video games to any hobby that requires skill. Some people do crafts, some do woodworking, some play chess, some do models, crossword games, etc. Playing video games and using computer software requires skill, critical thinking, planning, strategy, risk-taking, and the more you develop your hand and eye coordination, the better your skills become. Just as someone takes pride in completing a painting or a model, there's a great sense of accomplishment in passing a new skill level in a computer game. Plus, with video games, there's a great deal of variety. Sports, fantasy, action and adventure, and games requiring questions and answers, geography, and math, and word games and puzzles. Bit of a run-on sentence there. There's also the opportunity, where is that? Hold on. There's also the opportunity to interact with your friends and meet new people through your involvement in games. People are always interested in sharing tips and strategies, as some people tend to be better at certain games than at others. It goes on, but basically just sort of giving my state of the industry, which, I had huge perspective on in 1990 when I was 14 years old.
Well, I gotta tell you this though: if you were 14 when you wrote that, I've edited blogs for a living. That is well written compared to some of the stuff I've
It was
seen.
okay, and
for a 14-year-old, that's very impressive.
Yeah.
Let alone for a writer at all. So,
and then
very nice.
I went on to talk about how game systems need comparison, and I made this this very keen observation and prediction in week 2 of my column. A 32-bit system won't do you any good until high-definition televisions come to the U.S. So until then, we have pretty much pushed the resolution we can expect to the limit.
Very, very interesting.
I made a similar prediction a couple weeks ago on this show about
3D?
game systems until we get 4K screens. Game
Are
systems.
you ripping yourself off?
Apparently I am. Apparently I just recycle. Sort of my ideas.
It's very green. That's okay.
In fact, I was really phoning it in because that was week 2. Was game systems need comparison. Week 3 completely phoning it in. Top video games as I see it, and I just named the best games on each system. So pretty much. First 2 weeks I worked really hard, and since then 21 years of phoning.
Now,
it in.
was your journalistic integrity a problem with video game manufacturers? Were they like, we're not going to send you this game, Glenn?
It wasn't. Games companies were actually really cool to me from the get-go. I mean, I called up Nintendo. Actually, the first call I made, I was talking about this in the pre-show, was to a guy named Andy Eddy, who at the time was editor-in-chief of a magazine called Video Games and Computer Entertainment. I actually wanted to have him on this show, but he couldn't do it this week. I think he's going to be on next week. He wrote the revised version of Game Over, the book about Nintendo. Mm-hmm. He's worked for a ton of different publications, but he was the first person I called for advice about covering video games professionally, and he gave me some contacts for Nintendo's public relations people, Sega's public relations people, and they sent me stuff, which is why for the retro games this week, I thought I would actually pick the very first 2 games that I received for free, which were Ghostbusters on the Sega Genesis and Dr. Mario on the Nintendo Entertainment System.
So Ghostbusters for the Genesis.
Yes.
Okay.
It had come out that summer, and I found that game companies were cool with whatever I had to say about titles until probably the mid-90s. Because as I think I may have mentioned before, the first couple months I started writing for the Argus Courier. By the end of that year, though, I was writing for the San Francisco Examiner, and it was a year later that I met Leo Laporte when I was actually a guest when he was filling in on KMBR, doing the midday show. I came on to talk about video games.
So almost full circle.
Yes, almost full circle. I've known Leo for almost 20 years now. So kind of crazy. But anyhow, so companies were cool about whatever I had to say about titles until about the mid-90s. Then companies really started to get pissed.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen stories lately about how basically ratings are almost useless because companies are afraid that they will no longer receive games for free.
Sega was stoked when I was covering them in the San Francisco Examiner. I guess it gave them one of their first front page blurbs they ever had about Sonic when that came out. So Sega gave me a lot of early access to titles to write about them and talk about them, and that was cool. But then when the Sega CD came out and a lot of other stuff started to suck in the 32X, I mean, I hit Sega pretty hard. And in fact, you
didn't like that they revived Dana Plato's career with that full motion video game for the little cutscenes anyway
from Night Trap. Oh
yeah, wow!
Digital Pictures. I talked about this before. Digital Pictures that lingered because some people from Digital Pictures went on to another company that I dealt with in my music career back when I was doing a band, and they held a bit of a grudge over things I said about the make your own music video games.
That's right. We talked about this outside of the show.
Yeah. So
okay, I remember that.
That kind of thing does happen. So I mean, it was an interesting time, and I don't want to make this too much about me. If anything, that was just kind of a fun way to sort of.
Well, we have leftover cake from the launch.
Yeah,
if you want.
to share some embarrassing stuff from my past, really, for the sake of all of your entertainment here on the show. So if we want to show a little footage, though, let's show a bit of footage from Ghostbusters on the Sega Genesis. And it was funny because I was so stoked. Actually, you know what I was stoked about getting from game companies in addition to games? Just getting press kits.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because getting the information was very hard back then.
Yeah, it was. And the press kits were like in fancy binders. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. So when I first got this game, I was like, this could be the best thing ever because it was free. And then I played it and I was like, the game's solid.
Why is there only 3 people to select from?
Well, because...
Could they not get the rights to the 4th one?
What was it? Ernie Hudson costs money.
Ernie Hudson
Ernie Hudson wants the big bucks.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this is... Oh, wow. I remember this.
So getting it for free didn't bias me because I thought it was only okay.
It's interesting. I'm looking at it right now. I haven't seen this game in a really long time.
For its time, this was actually one of the better movie adaptations.
I'm sorry, I'm just cracking up at this. I forgot how they were for the longest time.
Yeah.
The music is... That's what like Super Nintendo was so interesting. The music was actually pretty good on
Yeah.
Super Nintendo, and that's a Genesis game. Wow.
But remember, the Super Nintendo wasn't out at this point. This had...
Was it Super Famicom out yet? It might have been.
Super Famicom came out a month or two after this. Because I remember at...
They had the Mega Drive and Genesis had a link.
Yeah. The EGM booth, Electronic Gaming Monthly, at CES had a Super Famicom at their booth at CES, and I spent the majority of the show just hanging out there playing Pilot Wings for the SNES or on the Super Famicom at the time.
I love the Super Famicom.
So is this, this, I mean, it's okay. It's actually at the time, this is probably one of the best movie adaptations.
Actually, isn't that bad?
Yeah.
Looking, and it looks like the gameplay looks.
It just was, but it was just okay though. It was, I didn't feel compelled to play it.
It doesn't also
all the way
seem like
through.
it's a huge leap over the 8-bit games.
Yeah.
Honestly. The characters are pretty large, but
Yeah. And we should show some of the other title I got, which was Dr. Mario.
Dr. Mario. I remember this game also on Game Boy. I remember this. That's where I played it a lot. It's pretty much Tetris with pills.
Interesting bit of trivia. The first two PR people I dealt with, Mark Smatroff, who did public relations for Sega, and Tom Saris, who did public relations for Nintendo, still in the business.
That's
I
great.
hung out with Tom Saris. He works at Playfish now. I hung out with him a bit at E3.
So, what do you think of this message towards kids back then? So, you're a doctor throwing pills at...
We joked about this a lot when there was a lot of the violence in video games controversy back in '93 about, well, what about Dr. Mario? It's sending a message to kids to play with pills.
Play with pills. Not only that, but I mean, Super Mario Brothers in general is all about taking mushrooms to get bigger and smaller and stuff like that, and throwing fireballs. I mean, that's pretty violent. And this, just throwing pills at viruses. I mean, this is a
But
really
you're not
negative
taking the
attitude.
pills.
That's true. You're just stacking them in color
You're just
combinations.
The dealer, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing some of this stuff got made. I think today's parents' associations would have a field day with this stuff.
Yeah, it definitely sends kind of a interesting message out there to the youths.
To the Utes, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say Utes?
I said youths. Sorry. My cousin Vinny is always on cable. It's a
have a
guarantee.
cousin?
If you're flipping channel, my cousin Vinny or Rain of Fire.
Do you have a cousin Vinny?
No, yeah. One of the two is always on cable somewhere. So, thought we'd show these two as part of my Gleniversary.
How do you feel looking at this? I mean, when you were a kid, do you have that same childlike wonderment, or do you think, good God, what was I thinking?
With this, I got this game when it was a beta. It was like an early access cartridge. Like, I was so stoked because I was like, oh my God, I'm guessing it's not even out yet. Now, another interesting footnote, writing about games at the age of 14. So the local newspaper, which people actually read back then, they published, this my picture and whatnot in there. Kids in high school didn't think it was that cool I was writing about video games. Well, some did.
Did they torment you with the
Not
picture?
torment. I did okay in high school. I was like president of my sophomore class. I was friends with plenty of people. I got along okay, but I got some crap about this. But a couple of kids would talk to me about games.
Well, that I gotta say that probably steeled you up for the internet.
Yes.
Because that's
now.
that gets you ready for the internet. Internet's
But
fun.
interesting bit of trivia, one of the kids who talked to me, one of my peers who talked to me about video games who knew me from the newspaper was Jeff Gersman, who came up and started talking to me one day about a game I'd written about, and that's how we became friends. And then when I was working at GameSpot, I got him a job at GameSpot, and he stayed there for 10 years before leaving to go do Giant
So
Bomb.
the life lesson is to know Glenn. Be nice to Glenn. Be nice to Glenn, because good things will happen to you.
It was very funny after the GameSpot controversy happened. He called me one day and said, "Hey, could you do me a favor and get a job at a new place and then hire me again?" But no, Jeff has done so well for himself. I mean, I'm actually amazed at the career he's had. But I mean, he always has been, was very interested in games even back then. And we would cut class to go to his house and play games.
Which we don't advocate right now.
Yeah. In fact, I think he still has my Neo Geo that I loaned to him in like 1991.
Do you have Super Spy?
No, I did not. What do you mean, Sly Spy?
Was it Super Spy?
Which one?
It was all first person.
No. Oh, yeah. Different one. Sly
bet we
Spy
have
was
that
the
over there.
side scroll one.
Okay, I'm gonna go over there and go play it.
Yeah. So that's our retro segment for this week. Let's move on to the random awesome of the week. You got the video?
Everybody's a winner.
Random awesome of this week. It occurred early in the week, but it's still fantastic. Super Mario with a portal gun. Let's show it. For those of you that don't know, if you go to the site stabyourself.net, lovely URL.
It's not what you think.
This is being developed as, I guess, a modified ROM of some sort, but their legal justification is they're giving it out for free. They're not going to be selling this in any way, shape, or
That's a
form.
funny idea.
Yeah. But what they've done, they've essentially modified the original Super Mario Brothers code to add portal functionality. And I got to say, this looks really, really cool.
Actually, the way it's playing out on the screen, this This is intriguing because this would change a lot of dynamics.
Yeah.
Basically, you're
This
creating
is
your
amazing.
own warp zones, moving the Koopas and the Goombas around. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, this
I'm
just looks fantastic.
I'm mesmerized by this. So this is going to be a thing.
This is going to be a thing. I mean, it's in development. And in fact, if you go to their site, stabyourself.net, they have some two-player functionality.
They might want to try to approach Nintendo.
A Nintendo one. Nintendo's hip, but they're not that hip.
They might be. Well, considering their foothold in the marketplace is not exactly what it used to be.
Yeah.
This might be the kind of
This is
thing
my favorite part, though. What were you saying, Ass?
I was saying that because they don't have the same kind of foothold in the marketplace as they used to, they might be more amenable to something like this, where they would go, okay, you know what, we're going to take our mascot, this is the face of the company, effectively, apart from the actual guy who made everything. But Mario and these kinds of games and crossing over might be not too crazy for something like Nintendo, because they would do something risky these days.
I think it looks awesome, though. I mean, I'm really looking forward to
It
playing
changes
it.
the entire dynamic, and they could reuse the old games.
And if you want to see the video again and see more information, the complete link is up on my Twitter. I'm at Glenn Rubenstein. You can check it out. Someone on G+, when I posted this earlier in the week, suggested we should discuss what other games would benefit from a portal gun mod.
Sonic. I mean, pretty much any side scroller.
You know what I think would be awesome with it? Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
This could be really interesting.
Because think about the air you could get with
you
using
could do some
portals.
crazy things
You
between
could do
that.
some crazy things.
Honestly,
with
that could
portals.
reinvent almost any. But
It
any
could.
side scroller, even like
Metroid would be great with a portal
What
gun.
about all the FPS?
Yeah,
all the
first
Call of
person shooter.
Duty,
That
Battlefield 3 with portals.
Or you know what I was thinking would be really fun? Grand Theft Auto. To where you could just like do that and lead civilians, do one portal,
Okay,
on the
so
street, do
basically,
another portal
yeah.
up on a high-rise building, and drop civilians off a skyscraper that way.
Okay, somebody's got to make this happen right now, because these are brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fantastic. Joshua Caleb's linking that someone did a video of Zelda with
Zelda?
a portal gun. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff out there.
Actually, is there a game that wouldn't benefit from a portal? Now I'm thinking about it.
Football, Madden football.
What do you mean? Every Hail Mary from the one shows up.
Yeah, I mean that would be a pretty easy strategy. Just portal right out at the goal line. Driving games would be cool. Driving games with a portal gun.
I'm
would
gonna
be
play
fun.
Outrun.
Outrun. Yeah.
Or Spy Hunter. Spy Hunter, just get in the truck.
I would even
Tetris.
dig it as a mod. Tetris.
That might be the one.
That might be the most redundant one because you would just use that to give yourself a little extra buffer,
Maybe.
Yeah, that could be cool. You know what? I would dig it in almost something like Trackmania, something like
Yeah.
that, where it's like an open world driving game, like building because with Trackmania people do some insane courses anyhow, so it would be cool to mix some portals
NBA
with
Jam
that.
would make more sense if it had portals in it,
Yeah.
like the crazy leaps. It might actually make sense now.
Yeah. No, that'd be cool. So, I mean, I'm stoked about Super Mario with the portal gun. I think it's going to be awesome. Like I said, hit me up on Twitter at Glenn Rubenstein. And you can tweet at me your suggestions of what games you'd like to see with the portal gun. We'll reference some of those on next week's show. Or, of course, you can send an email to twitgameshow@gmail.com, which, speaking of which, brings us to our last segment of the show, feedback. Now, last week, we put out a call for people to send in some reviews. What we want to know is what you're playing. And again, we encourage people to send in video reviews. If you want, shoot your own footage with a webcam or a video camera. Talk about games you're playing. And I'll tell you, pretty much, if it's even halfway decent, we'll feature it on the air. Because, people aren't exactly crawling all over each other to
You're not supposed
send
to tell
these
them
in.
that secret.
Well, we keep it real here on At the Controls Eyes. We have no pretense. We're still in beta.
Need more pretense.
I chalk it up
when
to
the show
being
becomes.
once we're official, then the pretense kicks into
That'll
overdrive. But I want to read Drew Snyder.
Not D. Snyder.
Not D. Snyder, not to be
Not to be
confused. Sent in a Deus Ex review of Deus Ex Human Revolution, and I just want to read a little bit of that here on the show. Recently, I've been playing tons of Deus Ex, and I have a small review. I've been playing it and can honestly say that it is one of the best games to come out in a long time. The story is very easily one of the best implemented in a game since BioShock. The emails and newspapers are very reminiscent of the audio diaries you can find in Rapture. The characters all have, well, character. Sometimes over the top, but always something that seems to believably exist within this world. And the world is a character in itself. Each building, each tunnel, even the sewers seem to have been crafted by a hand of an artist that knows what he is doing. The world oozes cyberpunk. That's a visual for you. At any point, I feel like Johnny Mnemonic is going to pop up, or I am going to be questioned by Rick Deckard. It is just cool in every sense of the word, pardon me. And I would like to make a note to developers at this point. If you have a cover system on a PC game, use this system. This is my note. The cover system, actually, I noticed that's one thing I really enjoyed because you can really hide behind stuff and fire with accuracy. It's not just wildfire.
Oh, cool. It's not like
it's which is very, very good strategically. And I agree. If you have a cover system on a PC game, use this system. This is the first time on a PC I have felt a cover mechanic works exceptionally well. The game is a joy to play. I've chosen to go stealth, and I always feel like me getting seen is my fault. I knew exactly what I did wrong, and whether it be my impatience or my not looking around that corner, it is my fault, and it never feels like I've been cheated, like sometimes I feel in Splinter Cell. The guns work well and feel solid. I've been going the less violent route when I can and using tranquilizer guns, and they feel just as good as the pistols and the rifles do. The RPG aspects of the game are nice, just in depth enough to feel like you are changing your character, but yet not enough to detract from the adventure and shooter nature. This is a worthy successor to the first Deus Ex in that sense. You guys need to play it. He capitalized need for emphasis. I've been suggesting it to every single friend I can because, simply put, this game has set a new bar. And now his question for me is why play it already. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, I have played it. And like I said, I just found it a little slow at the beginning, but I'm going to keep playing it more. And the cover system, I have to agree with him. The cover system is actually really, really awesome.
And this email has sold you even further.
This email has definitely sold me further. Drew, thank you so much for sending in this review of Deus Ex Human Revolution. And if you have a video review or a written review, but if it's written, I'm going to read it, and it's going to sound like it's coming from me. So send a video review. Shoot it yourself.
Your own voice can be heard if you put a video or a voicemail.
You can put it up on YouTube, or you can just send us the file to twitgameshow@gmail.com, and we will read it or feature it here on the show.
Yeah, and it's free. You can do that.
It's totally free.
Free promotion for you.
So I think that's going to do it for this episode of At the Controls.
Before we go, I would like to just show one of the best costumes I saw at PAX.
Please do, Alex.
This is Carl.
Yes, Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's that.
The weird thing was that was just across the street.
Yeah.
That wasn't even at the convention.
So I think that's going to do it. Thank you, Ayaz. Thank you, Tony, for sitting in. Next week, Brian Brushwood and Tom Merritt will be back once again. Plus, we have some guests coming up. Found out, as I mentioned earlier, Andy Eddy, long time, 25, 30 years in the video game business, is going to be a guest on an upcoming show. Dan Amrick from Activision and the One of Swords podcast is going to be a guest on an upcoming show. And more coming in the weeks ahead on At the Controls. So, until next time, this is Glenn Rubenstein, 21 years in the gaming business, reminding you that time enjoyed is never time wasted, especially when you're at the controls. See you next week.